Testing. That sounds terrible. Testing. Okay, now it sounds like I'm in a gutter somewhere. Yeah. So it does work off the microphone on the camera. I've changed nothing. We used Discord yesterday. Crisp is registering me talking. The microphone is paired. Nothing like stream debugging. What do I do here now? Because I can't stream like this. It'll pick everything up. Oh, hold on. What does that do? Now, how does that sound? Not as bad, but it's still bad. That's through Crisp. But the camera. One other option. I'll be right back. No, I was talking to you on the one I put in the wash yesterday. I'll be right back. I'm going to get a different mic. Okay. So that should be working. How's that going? That working? You hear me? Yes. Okay. That's just switching out to the microphone I use for work. Most frustrating. Switch my head. And how you doing? Bye. How am I volume wise though? Sounds kind of low. That better? It was good. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll go with that for tonight's stream. Audio. Welcome in. Sorry for the problems. 20 minutes. Get back. Seems to be on par for my day though. So, um, what am I doing today? So the other day I was starting to move towards getting um, tasks assigned to teams and therefore projects so that you can say, okay, project is what this task is for. But that will allow us to do start to create identifiers for tasks that match up to the. We'll talk about the whole, do we transition um, a project, a work item between projects? Do we break? Do we do whatever we do? I don't know yet. So again, as I come across these use cases, I'll start to think more about how they're doing. But right, because of the way I've designed the system so far, it's not structured in the same way that Jira is in have the boards, and the boards kind of have the attachment IDs to them. Right now, everything is visible, and that's kind of the point of Kaizu. It's not to be, oh well, this team sees this and this is that you can make everything visible just through permissions, um, and we'll get there later. So I'm going to continue down this path until I've got the delivery done. That will give me the best evaluation of, is the system functioning the way I expect it to function, and can I get. So what I was working on is this infrastructure piece here in SaaS application infrastructure. I have this integration event portion, which is kind of a generic style. So what I was going to do is I just created a shared kernel in Foundation. I'm going to move that in there, right? Because I think it's okay to have there. I'm still kind of verifying whether I want to do mediator. Yeah, it might be that some of the shared kernel infrastructure over time, but for right now, I think I have mediator. This is a component that I'll require um, in many pieces, so it's not bad about creating so long to that. Audio might be dipping, probably because I'm turning my head. I don't have the microphone attached to me. So let me do this. Let me do that. Does that make a difference? You may hear the clicky clacking of the keyboard. I can't guarantee Chris will join that in now, but we'll see. My problem is the attention span. Right? I'm looking around and trying to keep an eye on other things at the same time. So let's create this class, integration event publisher. I will do the refactoring in this same time, so we'll only make one of these. Remove micro streamers. Yeah, what's going to happen is tomorrow morning I'm going to go stand up and anyway. So there we go. Abstract. Rather than leaving this line around, I'll make this a part of this refactoring. Okay. Then I will delete that one to get rid of a silly named infrastructure piece, which will create a problem there. But reference share kernel 5. No, that's not right. That's not right. I have an info. Well, that's new. That's um copied this. That was the wrong choice. The choice. That was the application should have that reference. Feel right. Right now we're going to create an infrastructure. Yeah. And yes, this is duplication. However, it's better for the integrity of the application at this point. Okay. Not sure what else I can do unless it's clipping me out. If the volume's louder, does that change anything about its behavior? Could be a noise gate because I'm further away. Filter gate. Do I want lower there or higher? I want lower's more permissive, right? If autism, no. That's okay. That's the open and that's the close. The open threshold is probably what's causing it to not pick up the beginning, and the close is there. So is that now more permissive? Yes. I'm good for autism. How are you? Hold on, let me test. Don't like listen to myself. So we have, yeah, that's going to work better, I think. That's going to be working fine. Yeah. Okay. Rocket launch on April Fools. Yeah. What I said in there was I don't watch or look at news on April Fools. Yeah. That is a very deliberate thing because I'm especially in the world of AI. I think it's even easier to just believe things and not realize what date is. So okay, so there's the publish. That's right. Okay. So basically we need to do this integration event publisher T notification. But that's not intended for that now. That's intended for um team. And that's team. Okay. So again, what I was saying before was this duplication of this class is better for the integrity of the system right now than it is to try and figure out how to make this, you know, fit in a really cohesive place. I'm going to do it that way for the benefit of my own sanity at this point. So, um, normally what this does, that defines the abstract class. So that's not, that's, yeah, that's the abstract class. And then we inherit from the abstract class and we publish that thing. So now we need the task publisher. And all this does in this case is something similar to this, right? So that's that dealt with. That's that. And all this does is await the publishing of the team. And then it takes whatever's in there right this second. So this is new team integration event. Yeah. Okay. So it's that. And that's team, that identifier. And how do I do this? Task publisher, publish integration. Oh, we're passing the event there. Okay, that's fine. That's the event source. And that's source user identifier. Okay, and then that's going to move to publishers. It's going to move there. So what I realized was I was updating the team and the events weren't firing. So part of my issue was being that the client was misbehaving. So I'm like, hey, you're not doing this right. You're not behaving correctly. And the code was kind of behaving correctly. Except I wasn't actually getting a list of teams. So that was a big problem for me. Oh, Oh, just sorry, I didn't see the offer before. No, we'll deal with it as it is today. Launch was great. How deep did they on Artemis 2? Finally got a rocket up. That's fine. Apex, hello, good evening. Welcome in. So we are going to do that's the team integration events. The team publisher now has that. And now we're here. We need to make this inherit from team publisher. Huh? Do I really do that? Oh, I don't need that. That's fine. That way. Publisher. Oh, because we need to. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Then we just do um, await, publish. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Apex. How about yourself? Notification dot source user identifier and the team and the cancellation token. So that takes that out, and then we should actually have the capture. Yeah, that solves that problem. So there we go. That's it now. So now our team updated will essentially do the same thing, but now we have consistency in how we publish a team, which means if I change these events or how these are triggered or what is triggered and I need to publish the team, I can do that without having to worry about um, anything else. So they're named the same, they're team updated, and then we're going to call out team update notification. Remembering to change the right hand side, otherwise that would have created yeah. Did you stream last night, Apex? I don't think I saw you stream. Apologize if you did. What did I do last night? Oh yeah, I was talking to Mojo for a good chunk of last night. Okay, so there's the team updated. So now, when the team updated event fires, this will get picked up, and that's key. Been doing most of Saturday Sundays. Okay, cool. I actually managed to get back to karate on Monday for the first time, and I did okay. So I'm hoping that I can get back into a routine there as well. I don't think it won't affect my Wednesday night streams. I don't think because I'll have the option of doing a Thursday night. See. Okay, so we got the team publisher, we got the integration event. This does beg a question though. Where is the right place to put this? Because do I have a shared kernel application? I mean, shared kernel application would make the most sense, wouldn't it? I just have to go through here and determine because there's pieces in here that I'm sure overlap into application, etc. Because I have shared kernel reference right in the application. So I think what I'd have to do is determine which pieces of them live in shared kernel application. So I think that's probably the right longer term solution. It's not going to hurt me to have that there right a second. Because they're very localized anyway, and the behavior is localized. It's not like it's going to. I can change the behavior in one place and um, expect it to change everywhere. In this case, it's fine for this to be isolated from everything else, but that shared kernel behavior is something I should assess. So now update team does publish the update event. Um, and the way for me to test this, it should build, I believe. Yeah, you need to go. Good. How was that then? Test application, shared kernel infrastructure, test application. How did I manage that to do? How did I do that so quickly? Tasks, projects, shared kernel infrastructure, tests. Okay. Work has been tough these past few weeks. Yeah. Has a tendency doing that sometimes, doesn't it? We'll get there though. Um, oh, and Apex, sorry. Thank you very much for 27 months. I appreciate that. I do apologize. And Brains App, thank you very much for the follow. Apologies for not being completely aware of what's going on in my own stream. I'll get there. I've only been doing it for a few years. um, it's been one of those nights tonight with the audio not working properly, etc. Yeah. Come on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to test. Actually, I'm going to run the unit tests. I'm going to test that the update works by changing a team name briefly. Um, I don't actually have any um, um, how do I say this? Oh no, I could change this. I could change this in an easy way without changing the team name. What I do is I change the actual teams that are associated. So let's run this up now. I have this set to start stack, which will automatically run all the Docker pieces from the Rex library before as it starts the actual application up. So they're all ready by the time this actually starts, which is good. Give that a second. Did I didn't? Okay. Um, if you've not been in the stream before, you are more than welcome to ask any questions. If you have thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and change the teams associated with that. Change the projects associated with that team. Because again, I'm pivoting this slightly to be you associate projects with teams and users with teams. So I can associate one or more projects. So I'm going to change it to database for right now. That should save that. That should trigger, and I apologize for the bright white screen. I should trigger a message into this queue in a very this topic in a very short time. Because the teams have changed, it should put a message in here. Come on. Estimated messages. One estimated message. There you go. There it is. So now we have one associated project with Team Punch. What this caused a problem with is because that update never got through to the UI, I was trying to change the two teams, and I didn't send the update. So whatever I created the team with was the only state it could be in. So I had to go and get the update in place. Um, and it can self correct, if I fix the right things. But at the same time, I can't necessarily make the UI lie about what it's got. So I have to make some sort of change to trigger it. That's all I've done there. So now when I go back into here, I want to see those things, but it's not tracking those. So we'll come back around on that afterwards. But that's not really why I did that. Right. So if I select Team Punch, this is what I'm after. Right. So we might have to put the Teams integration into the WebSocket stuff. So there's more pieces here than I might want to have to do right this second. Teams, team associated projects. Thank you for the look, Apex. Appreciate you hanging out. So team 1 is Team Punch. So team 1, 3. Okay, it's there now. Okay. So if we go back over to here and go to add task, Punch, there's no drop down, but if we go to settings, teams, Punch, yeah, okay. So we're not synchronizing that down to the data on the client. So now we need to integrate another hub. So let's save the changes we've got so far. I'll commit the changes we've got so far. Okay, so task integration event, object builder. All this is based around updating the task to associate the project with the task. That's all this has been around. But task integration, task, organization management. So we needed teams to be associated. So that's what this was all about. Team behavior. Okay, that's those pieces. So publish team updated event when editing the team details. Now, a way to test, before I go too far, a way to test this is actually working would be to just refresh the page there and make sure that I'm loading that detail. Sorry. So if I refresh, that's what again, what I'm trying to prove here is that the thing I'm about to do is going to make an impact. And actually, we should not do it that way. We should just, if this works, we should just go through and test the scenario that I'm talking about, which is to go and validate that I can add a task properly now. Because that's the priority is, can I associate a task with a team and therefore a project? So we go open up Team Punch. Yeah, there we go. So that is now set. So backend, save that. Okay. That's just because the first load is just taking its sweet time. Okay, so we'll go to implementation and go to backlog and go to add a task now. Do test and test. The create button should be available because I haven't assigned it to a team. The moment I assign it to a team, that button should become disabled because I have to select a project. And there we go. That works now. So I'm associating it with that project. Again, what this will do now is when I create this, it can be assigned an identifier because now I can track it. But I've still got to think through this. Like, what does that mean to do it that way? Do I force a project to be assigned? Does a task always have to have a project assigned? What happens if I have a task that's sat there and doesn't have anyone attached to it? Does that matter? How do we refer to that thing? Um, do we have a pool of unassigned IDs? Something like that, right? So now I should be able to create this. This is the first time I've tested this code. Awesome. The first time I've tested from that thing. So there's our test task. There's our test task, and we've got associated project identifiers. No, we do have a team identifier, so we missed a variable naming there. That's fine. Okay, that's why we're doing it. All right. So my bet is we didn't send it. We posted that. Payload did, and there we go. We didn't send it. The weird thing is, there should have been validation on the other side to say, I'm going to make that one. There should have been validation to say, don't allow that. So that's got to be working first. So we can now test that scenario. So when we go to add a task, we have a validator. And the validator says if the assigned project identifier cannot be null when the assigned team identifier is not null. Project must be assigned. Now, I do have some unit tests around that, but what did I miss? Configuration mediator. Add task validator. Oh dear, that's not good. Because the reason being that I like it that way is because that rule is now wrapped up in a validator rule. That rule will apply. And yeah, I can have it in here, but this is about saving the task, right? This is about creating the task and adding the task because, why would I be consistent in my naming there? But that's what that's about. I can guard against that with invalid data states by simply wrapping a validator around it. So it should get here. So rule for assigned project identifier is not null when the assigned team identifier is not null. Yeah, that's the correct rule. We have the validator. Again, what that does is adds the injection there, and that sets the pipeline behavior. So that puts a pipeline behavior of fluent validation command preprocessor, which then says, go and figure out how to handle that message. So when it gets that message, it will apply the validator for that command. So do we do that? Let's test that once more. Let's see if we can actually make that fire. Test 2. Hi, Bond Circuit. Welcome in. Appreciate your input. So we can select one. We're not sending one though, so it doesn't really matter. I will be right back. Oh, and riders lol, no thanks. Each to their own. Each to their own. So, yeah, when I click this now, yeah, we don't hit our validator. We don't get into the preprocessor. Of interest, what's the issue with rider that you have? Now you're a .NET developer. Is a question. Plot twist: they work for Microsoft. Yeah. Well, there's very few camps left that are like use Visual Studio. Most people like just use VS Code, right? Um, although evolving camps these days would be, why don't you just use AI tools, right? So whatever, cursor or whatever there's there. But I'm still interested in understanding why not Rider. But yeah, got to learn. So the validator doesn't fire. Immediate validation, use fluent validation. This always fired, so why isn't the validator firing? When we have a validator for add task. I recently realized that Visual Studio gives you a create folder option that creates a solution folder, whereas Rider explicitly enables a solution folder. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Create folder in Visual Studio does not create a real folder. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So why? I assume we've lost one circuit in that conversation, but never mind. Okay. Uh, add task validator. All add validator does is register it for DI, right? So all it's doing is saying register a value, a transient dependency for T validator for T implementation, and we're saying, yeah, use this validator. We are not. Um, we're not hitting this code. Let's try. Let's try a restart. Let's give it one more go. Let's see what happens next. So for anyone new to the stream, I'm building a project management application. Right, the second, what I'm trying to work on is introducing some features to be able to actually create meaningful identifiers against tasks. But you can't really create a meaningful identifier unless you associate a project to a task. Otherwise, all you have is a placeholder because you can't work on something that isn't assigned to something. I'm not a big fan of eating on stream, but I need to eat something, so my apologies. So I'm going to nibble on the fries that I have. Um, so we refresh that. Says Alex. There's a stick of fry in my mouth. How are you doing? Welcome in. Welcome, Raiders. How was the stream? I was hanging out for a chunk today. So I am now a Raider in my own stream. How have you been? And if you need to run, thank you very much for the raid. We worked on the bot, then watched the Artemis 2 launch. Nice. Nice. That's cool. Always fun to watch rockets launch. So welcome in. My stream, auto mods, language. Sorry. Pretty well, to be honest. Life is interesting and wonderful at the same time, as you might well know all too well. Yes. Throws up some fun challenges from time to time. Expanded Cuba said, I missed it, by the way. That was the auto modded message. So in the past week, I have been working on. There you go. I've been working on introducing greater visibility to try and move towards getting this delivery tab working. Right. So I'm starting. What I did is I actually sat down with Claude and went through this process of what do I want to do and kind of drilled in on all the different pieces that I need to do to get to that point where a delivery makes sense. So I validated the idea, and then because I'd explained to Claude how Kaizu is structured, had it create me a set of initiatives, tasks, and deliverables, initiatives, deliverables, and tasks with requirements to work off of. So what I'm working on right now is these task model enhancements. So I need these unique identifiers to be created, right? So I need some form of unique identifier to be able to tie things together, because if I'm moving towards getting the delivery done, I need to see, are things merged properly, are branches merged, etc. So I had it go through and do this. So now if I go to implementation and go to review, I can see a lot of this work. These are now genuinely structured the way that I would think to do them. A little bit light on the detail, but not too bad. So this one has, this task model enhancements has 3 requirements, and I have, 8 tasks across those 3 requirements to work on. So essentially what I'm doing right now is moving towards being able to do this. So to be able to do this, I need to make sure that I can attach a project to a task, which will allow me to generate a unique ID that is assignable to that task. So you can point to, task, PNC001 or whatever you have as a prefix. I do have on projects, I do have a prefix enabled already. So this will be like, DB001 would be the ID, because it's attached to DB. If a task is going to move, it needs to move, then you're going to recreate the task anyway for the right project, because you didn't create it for the right project. That's the hard line right this second. So yeah, so I'm just going through that, and what I'm stuck on right this second is I have a Fluent validator. So the way I treat the code is, when I go to add a task, that's adding a task, right? I get the data in from the command. I've been told create a task. I go and create the task. I add it and go, done. That's the database. Whatever I want to protect, whatever I want to validate the inputs, etc. So I have a validator that is going to guarantee, um, you know, rule for X goes to X dot title is not null, sorry, not null, not empty, right? And then rule for the description, not null, not empty. So the validation is layered in front of it by making the request through the mediator. So I am meant to be able to add the validator in there. And now this is just a command, no matter how you call, as long as you invoke this command through the pipeline properly. Like if you create a new instance of this class and then call it, then you completely bypass that validation. But that would be something I'd validate in architecture tests, right? So I'd say you have to invoke it this way. You have to things have to be constructed this way. Um, but now the validator gets invoked, and it's associated with this. It's a partial the partial add task. Add task is like in this case, I'm using these classes more like a namespace. Um, but so I have a command and handler in every pairing. But then because I'm using a partial class, I can now go and create a validator in a separate file, and it just keeps that all nice and clean. And I'm just nesting it under there with the IDE. So yeah, the validation should be firing, and it's not firing, and I don't know why yet. So that's where we're at. Oop, no, wrong button. Um, I kind of the way that I design the code in general is meant to be small actions that do a thing, and it's very clear what they are. That's the kind of way I like to build the system. If the side effects, and we've gone through this before, right? If the side effects they are triggered via events that are fired when this saves to the database. So those side effects are queued up as things happen on this object, and then when they publish, they're listened to from these events, are listened to that way, which means that I can decorate behavior, I can react to changes in the system without changing the code of what changed. I don't need to go and add and well, if I'm this, then I need to do this. I can just say, okay, well, this got published, this got saved. Let's go ahead and do that. So that's the design I'm working with right this second. So we've got to figure out why this doesn't fire. So let's stop running again, clean and rebuild. Plus, if you know where you're going. But yeah, if anyone's interested in knowing more about this project, if you want to know how it's done or whatever you want to know about the code, you're more than welcome to ask. I stream to share what I do. I do not stream to get code done. It's nice to code, quite frequent, quite honestly. But if you do have questions, everyone's more than welcome to ask. And these fries are really good. Actually, the question is validator itself as a system that exists in .NET. So that is fluent validation. So the fluent validation is a library. Um, and I'm obviously jumping through a few more hoops to add it in. But all I'm doing there is I'm adding it into my pipeline. But yeah, this is a bit of an extension on what's there, but you can use fluent validation and you can add it in there, and then you can just do validator.validate. So if you're passing objects, you can actually validate them that way. So um, it's been around for a long time, fluent validation. Um, yeah, this is it. Supports all sorts of older versions, but you create a validator, and then you can just including rules. You can you can set up your validators. You can combine validators. that, that's not uncommon though. And you can there you go. So create a validator, get a new person, validate person. Options include rule sets. You can actually apparently add additional things on the end there. I wonder if having more modular based shared kernels means you've evolved past TDD. The thing you got to remember is there's no actual hard and fast rules as to how we build software. You just want to make building future software as easy on yourself as possible. So if you understand where things are, that's good. That's all good. So yeah. Well, everything's an interpretation, right? That's what I'm trying to get into, man. Just building this foundation for my own future work and less fighting with all work. Yeah. Yeah. You want to, the best way I can describe coding at this point is if something feels hacky, stop and consider why it feels hacky before you proceed. Don't just proceed and make it work because that's normally your smell, right? That's your first smell. Um, if you repeating yourself is fine. If you do it a third time, do you need some sort of consistent piece to share, right? Um, if you need to change something, how confident are you in what you need to change not causing a problem? Are you scared of changing that piece of code? If you are, go change the piece of code and make it less scary. Right? If you look at a code base and go, oh, I really don't want to touch that, it's gonna hurt. And I do it in certain pieces of this, right? Those are the times when I listen to my my instincts the most. Um, because then if you can get rid of that fear of change, nothing's difficult, right? So yes. I should at some point put that in a YouTube video, but you know, is this being loaded incorrectly? Why am I getting this? Hmm. All wisdom must be consumable in short form or it's invalid. I could put that in a short, what I just said, but I should share more of that. Some of it's a lot of common sense, but I think sometimes developers um, come up against, experts and people who've been there and done it and think that they've got to mimic exactly what they're told by that person. Um, and that their code base won't be right unless it's followed to great detail. And then you get to doing it and you misinterpret how it's actually built because you have no idea of all the secret sauce, all the magic that's holding it together. So, you know, build what you know. Don't be afraid of it. Change it when you need to. Um, yeah, it is. And the fear never goes away. The fear of getting it wrong or someone looking at your stuff. I mean, it's part of why I stream. I stream because I'm willing to accept criticism as long as it comes with an education, right? I'm willing to have someone say, "Oh, you've completely misinterpreted that," for me to say, "Oh, how would I interpret that?" Right? Where can I learn? Where can I grow? That's fine. I don't get that very much, but is that because the code base is intimidating? Maybe. So yeah. But anyway, um, ah, you can go away. You can go there. Test, punch, database, create. Hit a breakpoint. There we go. But it got to the create. That's what driving me wild as well. This is interesting. That's the internal audience actually being checked, and it shouldn't be being checked because it's told to ignore it. So I think something's changed somewhere. But anyway, that's another aside. But this is getting as far as that, and it's not getting to the validator. So what am I missing is the question. Now I'm doubting, has it ever worked? Because this is one of those few where it actually had validators working. What's the other validator? Create sprint command. Create sprint validator. Still going in. This isn't essential, right? I could say, you know what? I'm not going to mess around with validators. I'm going to go and put the code. I can just put guard code at the beginning of the create command. I just prefer this design because it keeps it consistent. It keeps it in, a nice, neat thing that's very clear to read. And the what is involved in creating a task is a really simple thing. Is create a task. This is irritating me though. Everything's in debug. Data configuration. That's already fired though. That's not. Pretty sure that will have already fired. Do 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 do. I can create. Let's put that on the wrong thing. Oh no. Oh yeah. Okay, we gotta figure this out. I gotta figure that out first. Why am I getting that one? Do 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 do. Are you building this for the web view only, or are you going to have like a native mouse out for it? Um, I think this sort of application just does better as a SaaS web application. Not that it couldn't support that, and a mobile view might be something that's required later on. Right now, the only thing I can focus on is that. So, going back to the ye olde diagram, the benefit of what I'm doing here is if a mobile view is required later on, let's say I want to provide a mobile view of where initiatives lie. So for executives, they can go and look at their initiatives dashboard. That's probably a realistic use case is like people who are in management might want to see where progress is at a glance. They're out and about, they want to see where things lie on their phone. That might be a view. Now, the way this is built is what I would do there is I would probably create another view with a specific API and backend for that piece, pulling off the same data, but it would be its own view for that because then it's completely isolated from what we actually receive here. So you can still have all the interaction if you wanted to. You can still have updates and stuff. All those things, all these APIs still work, but I would build it out as a completely separate code base and view so that I could have very specific data just for that use case. So, and that's a benefit of the design here, right? I don't have to have this serve many purposes. I can have it serve one singular purpose. I could have it serve. I could build a different client against the same view because I'm using GraphQL. I can kind of limit the data. I can do all that sort of stuff. I can do the same thing, but if I wanted to make it more performant, I could build a completely different view and just consume the data in there, and it'd be isolated and uh, distributed to its own system. So that's one of the many benefits of designing it this way. Yeah. Oftentimes, what happens is teams are building in a traditional environment I've been in. Right, teams are building this as an API, and then someone says we want a mobile view, and we end up with a bunch of changes to the endpoints in here that are, oh, we need this data now, but we only need it in mobile view. So now we'll build a concept of mobile view in there, and there are more modern techniques around that. I get that, but that's a way I've seen that done quite often, and that scares me. So it is part of why this is driven this way is because of that fear of hitting that, and that exploration for my own purpose to understand, is that something I could do? Should I do that? How would I do it? So yeah. We need to figure out where this error is being triggered by. So auth liquid sky software is the authority on here. Why are we trying to go to the OICD? Oh, have they changed how this works? I've been doing this for months. Why would this trigger now? So the way this is set up is auth0 is who I log in as with. So I authorize or I authenticate with auth0, sorry, not authorize. This is auth0. I then go to the gateway, and the gateway says, oh, you need to be logged in. Let me go get your permissions for you. So it goes into the auth0 process with that token from auth0, validates that auth0 is allowed here. So you have to be allowed to be in here, like entirely. Then goes and um, I've called it identity in the code, but it's not identity. Identity is here. It says, oh, you are this user for this tenant. Let's give you the permissions for that tenant, and provides that. It creates a new token, and that audience or that authority is this URL with that audience. Now, the internal auth is configured. See, I called it identity. It shouldn't be identity. That's the wrong name. It's configured to not validate, I believe. Configuration. Where do I do this? Add internal. Oh, that does that auth0. Oh, right. That's the internal identity, but the infrastructure, domain, applications. Where are you? Where are you? Is it shared identity? Add internal auth. Here we go. So add internal auth is meant to validate the audience, but not the issuer. That's not a thing. But it's like it's making a call out expecting OIDC to be implemented in my internal stuff. Which, if that's the truth, I might not be able to avoid implementing a more robust authority system. But in theory, you can't get, well, no, in actuality, you can't get that internal token from anywhere but an authenticated auth0 user. So the only way you get that internal token is by being authenticated properly against auth0, because that will call back to auth0 and say, yeah, you're allowed. You've been exploring open source projects. Oh, anything good? So why would that now start complaining? because obviously all Liquid Sky software doesn't exist. Um, I don't think these are related though, so I don't necessarily want to go down rabbit hole here of trying to figure this out. Hmm. Um, what do I do here? What do I do? How do I do this? Apparently, certain packages are like in GitHub's Vault, and you have to log into that. GitHub's Vault. The only vault I know of is they're like, hey, here's a snapshot of projects that have been on GitHub, and we're gonna save them off into the vault, but they're still available on unless the creators have brought them down after they've been archived. I know because one of my projects that I was doing on stream to help someone understand a bit more about application dev was called Get Screwed, and that got picked up into their their vault flow. It was uh, a sample e-commerce flow, but yeah. So not sure. Um, GitHub Vault, Arctic Code Vault. Yeah, that's it. The Arctic Code Vault program. Um, my best guess is that they use that for a lot of the training, and that's why they introduced it. Yeah, the 0202 2020 snapshot and code deposit just so happens that yeah. That's the only vault I know of though. Swept up every active public GitHub repository. It included every repo with any commits between the announcement at GitHub Universe on November 13th, 0202 2020, with every repo with at least one star and any commits from the year before the snapshot, and all repos with at least 250 stars. Also included GitHub pages for those repositories. So it could be that it got archived and then they deleted it since. Uh, Either way, they snapped up one of my projects in that. So, um, why? Why do I get these issues on stream? Well, okay, let's figure out validation first. Why is the validator not firing this? Let's validate that. Validate. Validate that was. Is it an open source project? Because it's a snapshot of the data. That's a Twitch streamer buff. It makes your code 20% more likely to sudden failure. Yeah. And my brain not able to work on it as well. Uh, my brain is rendered useless. It's like maybe says if you like a good stream and you like hot dogs. Oh, there you go. It did add it that way. That way. Um, yeah. Um, maybe we're streaming this morning. I woke up at 4:30 this morning, and not long after I woke up, maybe started streaming, and I logged into the stream, and he's changed to a VTuber, and it's a hot dog. And that is quite an interesting thing to see. It just just turned 5 o'clock in the morning. But he says that when you stream, you kind of your brain power, like your developer skill drops. Um, so okay, so we get here. So we do hit this code. Don't know what it is. I use a trackball mouse. I use a ProtoArt mouse, But the last couple of days, no matter how clean I get my hands or clean the mouse, it just feels tacky and grindy, and it's driving me crazy because it's lost all sort of control. Okay, so we get in there. We use fluent validation, which is just adding that pipeline behavior, which is this, right? So funny how important the texture of our little computer. Yeah, it's just driving me crazy. I mean, right now I'm desperately wiping my fingers because I'm eating fries, but um, that's not the introduction of the problem to the mouse. I've got a little dog that wants to come in and eat the fries with me. Um, how do I do this? This is going to be, well, that's an interesting problem. Notice the dialogue does not recreate if I cancel out of it. It pops up as it was. It should clear its state, and it's not doing that. The hardest ad starts in 3 minutes, by the way. The biggest problem I have right now at this state of the application is because there are so many moving parts, making bigger change is it's not scary as such, but it's more risky because I don't know what I've necessarily what's changed, what's broken. If I've introduced some quirks, the testing effort gets ever bigger. Um, so I just need to be more vigilant as to well, I'm going to have to work out a better testing plan overall. So best things don't work actually. Well, the UI is probably the front end is testing that one, but um, it can't hurt on the back end. Database create. We're not hitting this validator, so I wonder if the API has changed here, and that's what I'm falling foul of. Because for that command, command response. Do I give a response? Hold on. Post. Yeah, I do. With a value. Yeah, that's right. Of course I do. I always have a response. That's fine. Anything that gets created returns the ID of the thing it created. That's the rule. So the client can track it. So this does have a T result of GUID. Well, it has a result of GUID. There's a T there. So that pipeline behavior is fine. T command, T response, T command, T response. Fluent validation command. So the only thing I can think is, did I not validate these things? Did I not validate these things? If anyone's ever considering using mediator libraries, by the way, I use Martin Ultima mediator, but Jimmy Bogard's mediator is a more common library, and they're almost the APIs are very close, or they were last time I checked. And what it means is you if you just type in I pipeline behavior, you might get the wrong mediator. So it's worth knowing. Um, Screen concerns. Yeah. Using pipeline behaviors. Right, that's fine. pipeline behaviors with open generics. That's fine. That's what I'm doing. So this injects the validator of the command. That's what this is what I'm going to do, because it creates this preprocessor on the request as it creates the pipeline. Actually, hold on. This is generate code, isn't it? Mediator. Yep. Add task. Add task. So this is all the code. The source for this, because it's all generate code. Command handler types. Is there a pipeline? Pipeline behaviors. I would imagine there's one specific for the fluent validation command and preprocessor. No. But if that's part of the problem, that's not there. That's doing that. So, hmm. So what I'm coming up against here is that I'm now questioning, am I missing some configuration, which it doesn't look like? When was the last time I actually tested this? So create sprint should have the same thing. Let's see if it doesn't add an extra rule and I've got a design challenge, right? So we go here, go to add sprint, and what's the validator on there? Validator sprint name is required. DevOps. The okay. Create. Nope, that'd be that quick. That'd be that one. I haven't bunted the edit yet. But we still didn't get here though. We didn't get to the validator. And that's a key thing. We didn't get to the validator. These aren't grayed out now. These are valid. So we should get in here for every request. That's not a thing. So we get to this code. All these are a dependency injection configuration. So I don't know why these wouldn't cascade. They wouldn't do anything strange there, because this just sets up this one thing. Oh, let's test something. Validation. Let's do. That's iValidator T command. Right, but that sets that up. I've already, that's that part. That's the dependency. That's what it's meant to do. What I was going to do there. Do this. We can do this up at the other level. Let's do this up here. Let's do builder.services pipeline behavior of add task dot command add task dot results of GUID type of add task. So we're explicitly registering. No, hold on. T response. Why don't you like that? Oh, because we need. Oh, hold on. Doesn't make sense. Pipeline behavior T command T response. The type add task command must be convertible to ivalidate in order to use it as a type. Oh, you know what I think I'm missing? No, that's not the thing because it doesn't work for sprint. But it does make a point. Hold on. I validate. Oh, there we go. Command add task. Command I validate. That goes on the other side of that one. Not there. It still doesn't answer why. Because I bet the command on this one does. Oh no, we removed that. Let's see if that works now. So remember that part where I said I might be missing something with my own code. That's part. That part covered. So that's a decorator interface, right? That is, if I can actually chase it down. Come on. This building is taking its sweet time to react. But that's just a decorator interface to make sure that I am saying, yeah, I can validate this one, right? And that I do have some constraints around setting up. Yeah, it's just a marker interface. And again, all that's doing is saying whatever command we pass in has to be I validate. Not sure that's actually necessary at this point with review. Let's see if it behaves differently now because I'm clearly taking it off of sprint as well. So that would explain why it doesn't work there. We all started? Yes, we are all started. Let's see if we get a different behavior. No guarantees. but that would have been failing internally. Test 154. Punch database. No, still went through without the assign. I mean, I can fix the underlying problem, but again, this validator not firing is driving me nuts. Let's go here. I don't think we need that. I don't think there's anything telling me that, because it's a marker interface, so there's no reason why. And I should need it at this point, considering I've got the constraint of it has to be a command that you're going to create the pipeline behavior for. And that command has to be a command of T response. And T response has to be a result, which add task matches. I don't think this is the issue. I don't think this is creating any problems, but ideally we want to get there. So the pipeline is not being applied. Or interesting. What has update sprint got to do with anything? I'll be right back. Sorry. Thank you. Um, I hit the micro. This microphone has a button on there, so yeah. Okay. I'll say what I was going to say then as well. Appreciate the call there. I have the um this marker interface, this signal interface is just purely a dumb empty interface, and that is just to make sure that only commands where I have a validator can be registered here, right? So this iValidator will get injected, and we just say, yeah, this is a validated command. So that's why that's there. Otherwise, when mediator starts up, it will try and register every command through this preprocessor as a pipeline behavior. So that is necessary. That's why that is necessary. Yeah, it's going to create. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Um, yeah, that's test. That's fine. Welcome in, Fleming. I hope you're well. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to join in. Um, not pretending to know everything. Um, so this sets up the dependency injection for the validators. That's exactly what it's meant to do. And validator, T validator, I validator. We're in T implementation is T validator. Yeah, yeah. So that's forcing that to be. This has to be an implementation of that. So if I do create sprint, that should error because now that's not an implementation of I validate or add task, right? So that's making sure that we have to have left and right aligned. That's good. We only want one command preprocessor. Let's have a look. Polymorphic dispatch with notification handlers. No, I want pipeline. So the only thing I can think is that there is some level of we start tasks up. That any errors, there we go. Oh, that's the error that we logged before. That's fine. Let's start up again. So we should see an error pretty early on in the process if we're going to see one. So let's go to no, not that one. Sorry, apologies. It's the outpost. Watch this start up. Console. Or endpoints. No error there. That once more. Sorry, I keep hearing a little dog walk down the hallway to see me, and I closed my door. Okay. This is not going my way this evening, is it? What am I missing? So we know that if we remove the interface, we get everything, which breaks immediately because there's no validator registered, which is fine. I don't think this is because it's a singleton. I think this part is handled by mediator transient, but we can try that one, right? The only reason I'm thinking transient there is because what we saw was the application immediately crashed when we made a request. No, because it's doing it again. It's doing it when it makes the request. It's not doing it when we start the application. So this wouldn't matter. So there you go. Oh, that's it. So verify this works. This should work. And validate. Doesn't validate. That's fine. Why? Why don't you do that? Don't get that at all. We can't hit this code. So you go back to the docs for mediator. Oh, that's a bit different though. So what that's showing is more this. So hold on. Yeah, that's showing more. Um, options goes to options dot pipeline behaviors equals type of fluent validation command preprocessor. That's a very different configuration. Now that should still work. I wonder if that configuration is what the difference is, in which case, yeah, that would explain it. Because I just need to change my design of the code. The code is helper code. It's not going to be major to change that. It's just more making that a consistent thing between my different pieces. And if this works, we're going to leave this for right this second and get on with the actual, no pun intended, task in hand. Signal our stuff as well, driving me crazy. 502s. It's just probably not ready yet. That's fine. Come on. Suppose the measure is if I get here afterwards. Oh, no, not there. If I get there afterwards, that's fine. What? No. So planning, implementation, sorry. You'd think I know how to navigate my own application at this point. Add a task. Verify validator. And we want to get bunch and backend team. Builders on fire. Again, all these are doing this add mediated validation is saying, okay, well, we get this, we add the transient, and then we get the validators. So if we remove that entire thing out of there, because that's not necessary, stop that running. And we do builder.services.add transient iValidator of create sprint. Do add task that command. Add task a validator. Right. So now we're completely out of my code. We shouldn't have a bearing. Um, does this build and run? Now, just to address this, my next thing will be to ask Claude, primarily for a hint as to what might be my next step as to how this works. And Claude, the problem will be that Claude's documentation on Mediator will immediately take me to the wrong library. So I'll have to fight that a little bit. And then the documentation may or may not be up to date, which means I may end up trying other things that might get me there. But I don't know what the actual problem is right this second, other than I'm not hitting the validator, which could be a multitude of reasons, right? So I've got to try and understand for my own sake where I'm failing. But I will use it. This is where AI is very helpful as well for me. Um, use behavior in Martin Automa mediator. Uh, validating validators. Validation. If this works, I'll be upset, but that's fine. DevOps backend. Nope. Still didn't fire. Because we know that should fail because the project identifier isn't even moving past up, so it's null. It can be null. That's part of the problem because if the team isn't set, it's perfectly valid to send a task with no team attached. As long as you have a team, you need a project identifier, so it's a valid state for the data. So it's not like it can be rejected at the endpoint level. It has to be validated. Um, it's trying to register it. It um, uh, but when I make a request and send a command, no validator is triggered. Let's see if it gives me any hints. I definitely wouldn't want it to go off and do this itself, by the way, at this point. I don't. I've gone through several iterations of just trying to get the front end of this working properly. Okay, so it's asked the question of, can you share the code for that? I'm fine with that. Now, if it's structured it right, it'll say, "Oh, you got iValidate." Does your add task command implement iValidate? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Which again, we've got to and ruled out. That's fine. It's thinking. That's still triggering why this isn't normally if it's built unless it's because it's a different library. It's fine. These are all extensions validation. They're all these are just kind of like shared kernel pieces. Um, at the general application level, this specific application, shared kernel in Foundation is shared amongst many projects. What does add task command look like? Specifically, what does it implement? I want to check the return type. So what it's saying there is command from user t result. Hold on. Command from user is that's still valid. So I give it those pieces. I didn't question those pieces, by the way, because again I've gone through them so many times that I'm comfortable. There's your problem. Your command returns result GUID, but your constraint is T response result. In our result, result T and result are siblings, both inherit from result base, but result GUID does not inherit from result. So the constraint never matches. Change your constraint to. There we go. That's a difference. I would have never got there. And it's wrong. It's wrong. Uh, you also need to adjust your error return since result base doesn't have the static error factory. Oh, you're saying the command needs to implement. What? Change the T response on. You saying that? No, it's definitely this. It's um, Yes, exactly. Change the constraint from where T response result to where T response is result base. Result is not there. So result is result. That's quite a. I thought I had hit hard with naming collisions, but it's wrong. Result inherits from result, which is I result. So it's made an assumption on the API because it's seen the result. Um, Adash result does not inherit result base. Wait, lay down. Lay down, bud. Come on, lay down. I heard you get shouted at, Loki. You got shouted at. Good catch. The common ancestor is I result. Change the constraint to I result. I think that's wrong, but I'm willing to try it. Cannot convert type T response. Oh, it warned me about that. Right. Yeah, that's the problem. Is it? Yeah. Because in this case, we need to error. What does error become then? But result of error is still result. And then return it to T response. But that's still valid. Can I cast pivot type? Another result. Uh, you'll need reflection since you can't call a static method on a generate type directly. Both result and result T have a static error method, so this works for either. Also worth noting. So the suggestion here is that I can't cast that to result. I can't cast result to I result. Cannot cast expression of type result type. But T result T response is of type I result. Interesting. So the suggestion from the robot is that, and then this would be return create error from error results. Let's do that properly. Hey, how keyboards work. Lie down. Return create error result. And that's just result dot errors dot select. So we return the default result, otherwise, so we validate it. And if we get back errors, then we return the errors. That's the goal there. So let's see if it works. I'm not confident this. I don't think this is going to. I think the problem is we're not establishing the preprocessor, the pipeline. I don't think we're setting that up right. Um, Also worth noting for validation failures, invalid with validation error is more semantically correct than error in our dash result. We'll show that variant instead. No, not right this second. It's good that it differentiates between valid and error, but which is good, but yeah. So we will try and do this. It's funny, I've had quite a lot of bursts of productivity in the last couple of weeks. Like I get to stream, I get some of this stuff, I get stuck on something like this, and then I get clear of it off stream, and then get a chunk of functionality done, and then back again. We'll see. I haven't been working on this solidly over the last week. I've kind of been working on my game library app, get that up and running so I can take that load off. That worked really well, so I'm kind of focused on this right now. Blah, blah. Roll it down. You're not having food. No. You've got food. I was like, oh, it's going to work. No, it's not. So the fact that it returns an identifier means it got to create and it returned, and nothing in here happened. Yeah, you see, it's not even picking the breakpoint up. Let's see if it will give me. I'm not sure why that's happening though. It doesn't make sense because it's built, it's in debug. I know where this code is, but yeah, I'm just trying to determine whether it's something to do with the um, code gen stuff in the preprocessor. Normally, this would be that if I'm referencing a library and I don't have the symbols for it, so I can't debug it, which I clearly do because I've got the code. That's actually a useful signal. It likely means the behavior still isn't being matched by the source generator, so the generated code never references your class and no symbols get loaded for it. Before debugging further, so my assumption of why it wasn't showing is correct, or likely correct, being that we agree. Before debugging further, can you confirm, does your iCommand result extend iMessage result or iRequest result? Response. Martin Ottomer's mediator requires pipeline behaviors to use the exact message interface the source generator expects. Typically, iMessage. Excuse you? Did I see that? Oh, he does call it message. No, constraint to iMessage or constraint to iBase command. Pipeline behaviors. If these have to be my messages, I'm going to be upset. But I'm realizing it doesn't actually explicitly state that in the document that outlines. It's not wrong. But the pipeline behavior doesn't explicitly state either way. Oh, where T messages iMessage, but it's a command. A command is take care, Apex. Thank you very much for coming by. For those who haven't seen Apex before, watch the stream. like I said, he's hanging out normally on Saturdays and Sundays right now, developing his game, which is coming along a lot. He's built in tools for checking the uh, the level and um, showing all his characters and animations, and so we can start building a really solid game framework around that and test things properly. So, and also a great user of AI, a lot of knowledge there. So, highly recommend checking out Apex. So we'll rule it out. Cool. Well, I'll see you Saturday then. Or tomorrow morning if you're around. Tomorrow morning when I stream. But so oh, it drive me crazy. Um what that's saying is command from user cannot be an I command. No, iCommand is fine. It extends iMessage, which is what the source generator resolves against. But since this is a source generator, the matching happens at compile time, not runtime. Check your build output, look in object debug for the generated media code, and search for your fluent validation command preprocessor. If the robot's right. Object debug, .NET 10. If it's not referencing the generated code, the source generator isn't matching your constraints. That would confirm the iResult constraint, or possibly invalidate is causing it to fail matching. Look, that's the most unuseful. What do you mean check? You mean check the DLL? Check the DLL? Is that what it means? I accept. JetBrains, I accept. Tasks. Infrastructure. Track entity response. Tasks. Endpoint configuration. I've never been told to do this before. This is interesting. What specifically am I looking for in Obj folder? That's cool. How you doing, System 32? If you're looking debug, interesting that all three folders are there. uh, is no generated folder. This will be annoying if this is I haven't included a library for source generation. Can you share the relevant package reference entries from your CS project for Mediator? Oh no. Oh, come on. Uh, Pass application. I know what it is. It's that. Hold on. Let's see if it says that's the right thing. Because then if it does, then I'll ask it, do I need the source generator on the library that's calling it? Yeah. Implicitly installed, explicitly installed. Oh, and 302. Awesome. So if we go back to this one in a second. Oh, that's not mediated abstractions, though, is it? Mediated source generator. I don't think that's necessarily there, but let's find out. Let's do that. It's saying mediated out of abstractions, but I don't think it means mediated out of abstractions. Oh, and I should probably stop running. That would be more beneficial. Um, that's a gotcha that I've got to be able to get around because I don't want to be. There we go. That's why I don't do that. That is why I don't do that. That is triggered by the fact that let's see, .NET projects. I can use source generator. I don't need source generator in there. I need abstractions in there. Yeah, that's fine. So that should still build, and the source generator builds the actual things for it when it starts, which should stop that being a problem now because the source generator is only included in one. Okay, that's better. So dependencies now. Still not right there. I don't think this is going to fix anything. I think I'm just making a bigger mess. So we'll see where this lands in a second. So what I've got to consider here is how do I um, build this many projects and enforce that rule. So if I want to put validation in, it's a little simpler than remembering. I can handle it through documentation. I can go off and say, okay, well, I'm going to document. If you want to add a validator, you must put these pieces in there. That's hit a breakpoint. Aggregate exception, awesome. That actually hit an exception with that start. Okay, let's try another task. Test, test. Oh, we got a 504. That's the best response we've had yet. Did we hit anything though? Oh, we hit the aggregate exception. Was it in there? Okay, so this was trying to do. Okay, so let's put our code back now that this is no longer. Well, we still want to do that pipeline behaviors, but let's put our code back, register them the same way we were doing. Hopefully that doesn't create a problem. So aggregate exception again. So what I've got to formalize there, well, it's clearly changing the behavior. The behavior is changing here. Now, that 504 probably wasn't caused by what I thought it was there. I need to validate. So we need to go and get the validator. So we need, see again, no breakpoint. Refresh that. Oh, there we go. We hit a validator. Thank goodness. That's still going to drive me crazy, but we hit a validator. Why did we hit the create sprint validator? What? What is the command? I don't think this works the way I want it to work. Just saying. See, now we're here. Oh. That's a lot of issues. Why are you doing this? I get no such host is known, that is fine. But I don't know why it's doing it now. What configuration it's trying to, well, I don't have well-known OpenID configuration available because it's not an OIDC complete server. I can't be living with that all the time. But again, task. It's come out with the right validation. That's kind of crazy that it has to go through all of them though. So it genuinely got a 504 before. And I don't want to return, you know, that's going to be validation I'm going to have here. I just wanted to use the opportunity to make sure the validator is running. So that code does work as long as we set up the source generator on the project in which we're including that. So the next question would be, getting slower. If we switch back to what it was, so we remove, we replace that with that. Does it still function from a validation perspective? Because if that's working, then I'm going to leave that alone. If it needs that explicit, like the way it's doing it there, then fine. But it didn't when I originally used Mediator, but I was using the 2.4 branch of Mediator initially when I kicked off this project. So that if that's the case, then this has probably been broken for longer than I thought it was, and I just haven't tested that scenario because I do put blocks on the client side. There are settings on the client side to deal with it, but it's um, not perfect. And you still want to make sure that the rules are valid if someone manages to post the wrong data or someone puts the endpoint out there. Oh, right. Valid testing that validators work properly. So at least I'm not creating a bunch of crap data right a second. So create. I want to see a 504. No. So it does need the pipeline registration does need to work that way. It can't work the way I had it. So that's good to know. But anyway, I've had a long day and this is not making it easier. So we need that. And so this needs to change slightly. So if we do this, we do. So I think I'll have to change the API a little bit to be. What I'd like to do is do options with validation or add media to, right? I'd like to do something like that. But ultimately, this is an added value right this second. So, and it's making the design more obscure rather than benefiting. So this just validates that what I'm setting up is correct. If I do it through the typical way, nothing stops me from doing the wrong thing here. So we don't putting it inside mediator doesn't make sense because we are um, this has no value. I can't just remove this. I need to go back through everywhere and touch it to do this. But hmm, this does nothing for us. So uh, builder services, add transient. I'm actually a little concerned at um, so these need to be transient. That's fine. Builder services add transient. Right. Um, that needs to be set there. These can't be singletons. We have to do that. I kind of want to wrap this up so that we know that if we're adding the validation, we kind of add the validation. I've been here. Wife was just talking to me. That's okay. I appreciate it. What a nightmare. One of them days all round. Um, it's always fun, especially when someone's working on a massive project that never seems to end. What I'm trying to figure out is how do I write this? Um, yeah, just don't start anything, and then you don't ever have to finish anything, and then everything's good. How do I write this where this kind of with mediator validation? Like again, options dot with mediator validation, right? Would be fine by me. But the problem is this options object does not have the service collection, I don't believe. The service lifetime, which is not the same. Yeah. Um, that's equals that, right? I think that breaks things, by the way. So this will be interesting. I got to remember I'm talking to a microphone that's a foot and a half away from me, not into a little microphone sat on my lapel, on my collar, not lapel. I have a. So what we could do is flip this a little bit more. Oh, okay. Flip this a little bit more, and then do instead of that, we do add mediator with validation. And then in here, we say service collection dot add mediator. Oh, but that that's just trying to be too clever. It's going to be what it's going to be. There's going to be rules. That's going to have to be it for right now. Um, it's too clever to try and put that into code because I need to have certain libraries in place to have add mediator. So to have add mediator, I need the source generator available to me. And in this case, what we've just learned is that source generator has to be on the library that kicks everything off. This one, it can't be on the reference library, which is how I had it. The reference library can have mediated abstractions, but the one that's going to start mediator needs to have the mediator source generator, so it builds all the relevant pieces. That's the that's the definition. Um, I kind of liked it having the because it worked the other way, right? It worked having the source generator on the other side because all it needed to do was generate the add mediator method, and then there was no actual mediator reference directly on the tasks API library. Um, but I get it; it kind of works. I wonder if there's any advice on scope. Singleton lifetime is highly recommended as it yields the best performance. Every application is different, but it is likely that a lot of your message handlers doesn't keep state and have no need for transient or scope lifetime. In a lot of cases, these lifetimes only allocate lots of memory for no particular reason. Still not. We've still got to see what the side effects of that are. I think there might be some changes that I need to make there. But anyway, um, um, no one, no one. Twitch. Thought I'd go away with it. Thought I got away with all the April Fool stuff. Try retro on Twitch. Um, okay. Well, I am going to finish up here. Um, let's go to JD. I still, I got unfollowed from JD. I keep forgetting to follow it. We'll head over to JD. JD is a PHP developer building a Drupal hosting platform, so it's relevant to what I'm doing here, right? Yeah, numbers just taken dump. Yeah. So I will be back tomorrow morning. I'm going to continue doing this tomorrow morning, trying to get this up and running now. The 504 is working, so that's good for me right now. So I can move forward with the project validation, get the project ID passing up, which will allow me to validate that. Tizzy, um, I will briefly do a demo, being that you were asked. Um, um, I'm going to finish up shortly, but I will happily show you what I'm building. Um, so I have a desire to build a project management platform, project management application, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't like working in Jira. It's not my favorite thing in the world. And I have been working on this for a little while. Anyways, Mojo, thank you very much. Take care and see you tomorrow. Um, so this is Kaizu. Kaizu is a project management application aimed at um, delivery, right? I'm trying to focus on how do you get to delivery and who do you need to tell what's happening at every phase. So I'm trying to increase transparency while improving delivery of software, right? So this is just because I'm just everything's starting up. That's why it's slow right a second. So the concept is that an initiative is an idea that comes from management. The initiative is built out and constructed. The ideas are put together, and they can be backlogged. And then once management's decided that yes, this is a committed project, they start to build out the deliverables for that. What makes up delivery of this initiative? Um, from there, we go to planning, and planning you are setting out the requirements and the acceptance criteria for that. There's review dates to make sure that these things are being constantly looked at, and there'll be further information there. So the deliverables backlog is essentially everything that we want to deliver. Um, yes, it's aimed at working for teams. It's not an individual thing right now. Although I have been considering some things there recently that allow me to test and flex some of the ideas I have to make it an individual version. Um, so um, yeah, well, so this is the work in progress. The idea being that it can, um, yeah. So okay, executives, executive level, project management level. Um, the idea is that these are visible. They do not need you to understand or to relay any information because you will to see what is happening. So if I start to progress this, this will automatically change to in planning, right? That's the idea. It's not doing it right this second, but this will automatically transition and you'll be able to see this is in planning. And each one of these will show you, like this says, it's got 4 requirements attached. It's got 3 requirements attached. You don't need to go and ask a project manager, oh, where are we with this, right? It's going to show you, and it will show progress eventually. At the backlog level, at this level, the project manager, they don't care about what's being worked on. They just care, are the things that I laid out as a set of requirements being met? So they can go into their view here. And right now, this is a view like this, but I do intend for at each level to be kind of a Kanban board of, oh, by the way, this is all the work that's in progress, and you can see the pieces. So on this one, there's one requirement, and this requirement shows us that things are working correctly and we can attach things. This would be the acceptance criteria. This would be whatever it's necessary to be um, to define what is a requirement, and then the tasks are done by the development team. So once this is moved for ready for review, right? So once a ready for review item appears, that moves to here automatically for the teams that are associated with the projects that are referenced, right? So you can the one thing I'm doing differently here is a deliverable, as I'm referring to it. I'm trying to avoid words like story and epic, etc. Right? So a deliverable is a set of requirements. A deliverable can be attached to um, any number of projects. So back end, front end, right? By being attached to back end and front end, any teams that are associated with back end and front end would then see that appear in this side, right? So it's now reviewable because now we've marked it for review. And again, there doesn't need to be communication. There doesn't need to be, oh, this is what we're going to work on because you've marked it for review. The developers can see, oh, there's something for me to review because these are things your team will go near because you're associated with those projects. So then they can go in here and this define release view, which is apparently not working right a second very well. Okay, we're going to break. Okay, that went weird. Oh, I missed that. I'll give it a minute. So let's give that a chance. um, at this point, considering how many people actually swear in the stream, I don't think I'm going to keep that around for much longer. Nice. Um, it ended in 14 seconds. I was trying to remember to hit that button, but I got carried away with talking about the actual project. Break ended. Your community is back. Greetings, Monmouth. How you doing? The battle goes really poorly this evening. I've had pretty much a stream of trying to fix one specific problem, which I've only just got a handle on. So just in time for end of stream. Okay, welcome back, Tizzy. So the developers go into this view, right? So the idea is that the developers can come and review these things, and I don't know why that's not loading. Another bug to deal with. And also there's fewer deliverables there. That's interesting. Something is not working very well, is it? There you go. So the developers go into this view, um, and they can review what it is, what work is actually coming next. Well, I'm focusing this on, again, visibility and transparency without unnecessary communication. Right? I want to make it smooth, like where are things currently sat? And I started this entire thing off with one phrase, passing the ball, right? I don't want to have my development team have to be reminded to go and look at what we're looking at next, right? As soon as that's ready, I want it to be visible to them so they can go on, they can allocate the time. They know they've got stuff to review that's coming to planning. They should review it and prepare for that planning. So they should ask any questions. They can push back on any requirements. They can read those requirements and see what is expected of them. Once they're ready, we'd have a meeting. The project manager would have a meeting and lead this effort. And this screen is intended to enable them to add tasks to these things. This is what I'm working on right this second, right? And the task is the piece of work that they want to do. And many tasks can make up the requirements. So be addressing the requirements. Again, those are technical in nature. So now the backlog is a bunch of technical components that will allow you to, be kind of granular and deliver quicker and make it smaller, but also show overall progress. So your sizing is estimable because you can actually break up the work by a technical requirement rather than a functional requirement. And the boards then are per team, and a team can again represent many projects. So the way it's set up behind the scenes there is a user is set up for teams. So a user can be on many teams, right? That could be one, right? A team is associated with projects, and a project is just a label. And what I'm working on right the second is giving those unique identifiers so that I can get towards the next phase, which is getting the delivery part built out. Because I need to get this entire run through so that I can validate it and go back and fix some of those decisions or address some of those larger challenges. I just need to see it working. So what I'm aiming towards right this second is getting this delivery tab implemented, which is, okay, now I want to define a delivery. What pieces of work are in this delivery? So you'll be able to go into the board, go into the items here and say, which release is this going in, right? And then because it's got a tag on it, you can link it to GitHub and do all those fun things you do in Jira, etc. It's built for delivery. Larger teams, smaller teams, teams that are made up of QA, teams that are not have got DevOps, QA, and development as separate teams. That's what I'm trying to encompass. But overall, my intended goal is to make it so that individual pieces of the organization can understand where projects are. So the backlog, this backlog for the initiatives, once this goes to in progress, I'll probably show an in progress tab, and that will just show the ones that are currently in flight, whereas these are the ones that are sat waiting. So again, visibility. Also, when you click into these will show progress, but also they'll show somewhere on here the risk, because I'll start to use the time it takes to complete things as an estimate of, does it fit in your expected timeline based upon their current velocity based upon estimations. So I'm not going to try and make the teams force time, but at the same time give the business some idea of this is off track, this is on track, etc., based upon current estimations. So yeah, so yes, it's intended for more than one team, but I have been putting some thought recently into how would I make this work for a solo person, or how would I make this work for a small team? Because it's not too, it's a lot of stuff, but it's not too complicated. And I'm using it, right? I'm starting to use. I was using the older version of this. This version I'm not currently using actively, but I am starting to. Some of these I'm clicking into are for me. So yeah. Um, cool. So hopefully this is interesting. If you are interested in learning more about the development, how I'm doing the development, what decisions I'm making, again, there's a whole lot of technology in play here. There's a lot of design and tinkering that I've done over time. It's a big distributed system um, that I've been building here. So there's a lot of moving parts. If you do have questions, if you want to talk more about things, there is a Discord linked in the cards below that you're more than welcome to join and ask questions about, or share your own projects if you're interested in sharing your projects. So feel free to join there if you'd like to. But I think for now that is me. I'm going to go eat my dinner. That was partially eating earlier on. I will be back tomorrow morning. Nana, thank you very much for coming hanging out for a bit. If not, if you are interested in distributed systems and smart design, I would highly recommend following Nana, which I'm going to, rather than try and type it, because I keep seemingly screw this up, I'm going to give you a shout out using your actual copy name, because I sent everyone to someone else last time. Nana does distributed system design, tinkering, and other project stuff on stream, and is a great place to go and hang out. So I would highly recommend hanging out there as well. But anyway, fortunately, I gotta go. So how many are left? 11. Let's go raid JD. So we're gonna go raid after JD, and I will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern. Thank you all for joining. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye all.